Chapter 5, Recording Number 1, Iskarioth Immanuel Sananda. Tuesday, August 8th, 1989, 6:45 a.m., Year 2, Day 357. We are present and prepared to proceed. It is with great love and appreciation for your service that we join with you. I am Sananda, with my brother, Judas Iskarioth. Blessings be upon these writings. I salute Commander Aten of Pleiades for his willing participation, and I honor the thousands of hours you ones have spent in concentrated training in preparation for our arrival. As an Earth-based team, I honor you and salute you for your fine works in a most negative and demanding environment. You shall have your day in the sun. I now relinquish communication circuits to Judas Iskarioth that we might move rapidly with this project. I place my seal upon this work and upon this information, and I bless you with ease of input and peace within that you know of truth. So be it. Salut. Greetings in the radiance, Judas here to continue. I also bring respect and appreciation to the members of the Pleiades fleet, and more specifically to Commanders Aten, Samjace, Asket, Leia, Corton, for his superb communications assistance, and to you ones of Pleiades, stationed on Earth base, which must remain unlabeled for security reasons. Your honor will be fulfilled as you see the wondrous truth displayed on thy media screens around thy world. This information must be perpetually given into the hands of beloved WG, and immediately upon completion, it is to be copyrighted under a pen name which will be decided at that time. Sipapu Odyssey will also be placed in published format in preparation for information seekers. Publication will be in the form and sequence in which communiques are being sent and received. At all times, security and safety measures must be observed and carefully exacted. Screenplays and further distribution instructions will be forthcoming. For security purposes, this information probably will be registered by Darushka Maird as author to protect Dharma's identity. These works, in the beginning, will be most likely published through Sister T, so that this location of Base Central will be held in some measure of security. Many things can also be brought forth through Little Crow Productions as we move further into integration. These things are brought forth herein, for I respond now to Dharma's queries. Dharma, the next portion that will be placed within for documentation has already been brought unto you within the past few days. Search it out that our time be shortened. You will locate it from Wednesday, August 2nd, 1989, recording 2 p.m., Year 2, Day 351. Include it in a total, for it was brought forth by Immanuel, Isu Jesus Sananda. That writing covers a portion from the scrolls as well as current input from the Master himself. Let this portion be complete. Let us move on. So be it. Recording number 2, Isu Jesus Sananda. Wednesday, August 2nd, 1989, 2 p.m., Year 2, Day 351. Since many of the ones who served with me in the Middle Eastern lands have now returned with me to serve again, I must be in the enlightening of your different thrust. I watch ye beauteous ones trash in foment and agitation over your directions. Ye are in a different time and place. Yours will be by works of a different nature at this time. I am Isu Jesus Sananda, who comes in thy service to do a bit of reminding. Lessons must be of such nature that the point can be utilized in any circumstance. You go where you can accomplish and allow seeds to germinate and sturdy plants to grow harvest. To run about teaching one to one, as the disciples did in the Holy Lands, is most foolish indeed. Firstly, you will negate our thrust of building a thriving industrial city of newness, and you will not reach but a puny few who will not believe at any rate. No, Chelas, The teachings must be spread forth through giant television motion picture complexes, and such as that type of conduit, massive spread and circulation. These are the last offerings of the word of the truth to a sick humanity, and it must be mammoth in nature. I will effort at comparison of teachings as I gathered you around me in those days of 2,000 years ago, and now in the present time. Instructions to Mind 12. I called my 12, and they were as follows: Simon, called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew, the customs officer, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon Danius, and Judas Iscariot, who was the only one besides me who understood the script. I sent them forth, and told them to not go into the streets of Israel, and to not go near the Pharisees and the scribes, but rather to go to the cities of the Samaritans, and the unknowing in any and all other parts of the world. I told them thusly, to do this after I would be gone from them, for these ones, the unknowing heathens, which only means unbelieving, agnostic, etc., simply a definitive term, for they did not belong to the house of Israel, which would bring death and bloodshed into the world. Again, brethren, I speak not against any individual man, but as a defined group of oneness in thought and doctrine. I told them to go forth and teach that the laws of nature are the laws of the creation, and the power of man's spirit embodies life. I told them to heal the sick, rouse the dead, cleanse the lepers, drive out evil spirits, etc. These services were to be done without pay, given freely to all one's asking. Material needs will be met with work of integrity in the marketplace, with honor and honesty. I told them to not amass gold, silver, or copper in their belts. Their works would produce remuneration, and it would be recycled into the business and works that the work and word could spread. Those ordained to go forth unto the frontiers would leave the business in the hands of the servants who remained to ensure a foundation of value to cover earth needs. All would have, but no one person would glean great masses of wealth to be squandered or stolen. At that time was far different from your current At that time it was far different from your current lifestyle, where there is a hotel on every corner and eating establishments by the hordes in every village. And ye can travel by machine, and thus and so. Therefore ye need not travel and abide with others, nor depend on another for your needs, for all can be in the production of the wherewithal. This is if ye all come to thy purpose, and settle down to do of thy works as ye have accepted and committed. 2,000 years ago, I told them to go only with those things that are absolutely necessary, so that they could eat and sleep on their journey, and so that they could keep clean and have always clean changes of clothing. Travel was dangerous in those days, and I told them not to carry many things with them, for they would only be burdened and would become welcome victims for thieves. I reminded them that each good deed is worth its pay, and if you diligently preach and teach knowledge, you shall not want anything. Now this was meant exactly as laid forth. These men knew their purpose, served those encountered, and further, they were not searching for self, but serving others. These ones were not going in search of self-fulfillment and inner light for the individual self to meditate in another's presence that one's truth might somehow rub off on them. These were not flower children drifting without purpose, living the lie of lies that they were off helping mankind. These flower children were the dropouts of society, claiming to search for their identity through every loose moral activity available, while wandering and drifting about in groups of booster-uppers and meditation mediums. This, brethren, is the difference in responsibility and irresponsibility. This type of proclaimed love is the most destructive one activity to plague humanity. Mine ones were sent forth knowing full well what was their job, and working 24 hours a day at it. No time off for afternoon energy meditation while they sneaked in a nap and cried later, energy overload. They went on foot, remember? They walked thousands of miles, where you can put 150 envelopes into the mail to cover the same thousands of miles. So be it. Ye cop out by saying, well, you told them to do this and that and thus and so. When you do as they had to do, then you come and complain to me. And watch it, friends, if you do not do your job well now, that is exactly the way you will find yourselves doing it. And brothers, you have committed unto the work no matter how ye have to do it. I warned them to check carefully when entering a village. Remember, no motels. They had to search out living quarters in private places, so I urged them to take great care and inquire about if there would be someone there who would be worthy, and advised them to stay with some until departure, if possible. I told them to salute a house when it was entered into, and I tell you to salute the house into which you enter. It is gracious and imparts love and vibrations of peace and goodness. If the house is worthy, your peace will come upon it. But if it is not worthy, your peace will return unto you, and you depart. If someone does not want to take you in or to hear your speeches, leave that house or that town, and shake the dust off of your feet. I told them then, I tell you now, not to stay in a place where you are not welcomed with openness. Your truth and speeches will not be recognized. Flee from these places, for they are selfish and disloyal to nature. They revere not sacred things. They will be honoring false gods and idols of whatever nature they choose from worldly manifestation. They are not followers of the creation, nor of the laws thereof. Where a man's thoughts enter, therein lies his heart, desires. Rarely is centered on God or the creation. I will now just repeat unto you that which I said unto them, that you can see the teachings are as filled with truth for you today as it was 2,000 years past. I did not lay down these edicts, brethren. These were edicts passed down from God to people in disobedience of the very laws of the creation, and knew not any Christ path of truth. Herein I speak of Israel, since that was the directed subject material on this morn. I would have it otherwise. It is not otherwise. So be it. Flee from those places of false gods and false teachings, for they will seek your life, because they do not want to forsake that which they have and that which they are. This includes the multitudes of false Christians, brethren. The false Christian church clubs will be the first to effort at destruction of this scribe. As for instance, the mystics and New Agers as such are equally as dangerous. Watch your steps, and watch out for mine scribes, please, I petition you, for most ones entering into thy spaces will not realize they are tools of darkness. The impact has hit hard, both Oberly and Dharma, this very day. Energy thrust and focused intent travels uninhibited for tremendous spaces. Keep thy light shields about you. Never mind the originator at this point. Just know you are the targets. Flee from these incredulous people, for you shall not lose your life for the sake of truth and knowledge. No law demands that of you, nor is there a law which would recognize such foolishness. We need no physically dead workers. I need live and alert workers. Do not be foolish in thy projects. Use thy God-given intelligence and found good, solid business concerns, and you will be accepted, and truth will follow, like sheep to a good shepherd. Verily I say unto you, however, many will die and shed their blood into the sand, because later my teachings will be made into false teachings, which I never taught, and which originate from the brains of scribes and priests set forth for their own gain, power, and purposes. They will thereby bring masses of mankind under their control, and through the belief in their false teachings will rob man of his rightful belongings. Man is God's temple. He needs no graven images nor ornate buildings with another man's name placed thereon. In all the world there will be screaming and chattering of teeth when the blood of all those flows who have made my teachings of wisdom and knowledge into false teaching. And when the blood flows, all those who through false belief and through being led astray believe these false teachings and advocate them, teachings that are not mine, consequently, many of these heretics will lose their lives. Many of these people of Israel who will never find their peace until the end of the world, because they do not believe and deny the power of the Spirit and of knowledge. Now, little ones, prepare yourselves, for I am going to lay a hard one onto your backs. I make no exceptions to belief systems, nor do I condemn any man as such. But the next is directly from God's source, and there is not a lot of cleaning up that needs doing. The curse of Israel. Verily I say it to you, the people of Israel were never a tribe of their own, and have at all times made a living from murder, robbery, and fire. Through ruse and murder did they conquer this land, through their despicable predatory wars, whereby they slaughtered their best friends like wild animals. And God said, Cursed be the people of Israel unto the end of the world, and it will never find its peace. Is today different from 2,000 years ago? How so? Did I say to kill them, mutilate them, hate them, or injure them? Nay, nay, nay. In fact, we of these outer realms are sending multitudes among them to work the wondrous transition. The peoples of the race are bearing our very own children upon your place, to set them free of their bondage. But the cycle will come down and close exactly as is written. No more, no less. So be it. I told them, my 12, and so it is today, Behold, I am sending you among the unbelievers, and those set in their false teachings, like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as clever as the serpents, and without deceit as the doves. No small task indeed. Beware of people, for they shall turn you over to the courts, and shall scourge you in their synagogues. They will ridicule you, deprecate you, denounce you in every aspect of your life being, and then come running unto you to reap a share of the wondrous gifts ye shall bring. Further, you will be led before kings and so-called great men, because of my teaching, as witnessed unto them, and light will go forth through thy works and mine word. Take no care if you cannot flee, and they shall turn you over unto the courts. For the power of your spirit will not leave you, and your knowledge will tell you that what you shall say, and I shall touch of those who represent you in truth. For it is not you who speaks, but the power of your spirit and its knowledge. I am telling you, dear ones, try not to deal with Israel in thy blind desire to assist, for it is not to do with you. It is between God and Israel. With Israel, you will get nowhere with those peoples until the ending of the world cycle, and so be it. It does not mean that ye shall not love thy Jewish neighbor, for we speak now of an entirely different matter, and one has very little connection to the other. I remind you, the disciple is not above the master, nor the servant above his Lord. It suffices that the disciple be like his master, and the servant be like his Lord. If they have called the father of the house Beelzebub, how much more will they call them who live in his house? Therefore protect of thyself from that of Israel, for it is like a festering boil. But be not afraid of them, because there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing secret which will not be made known. What I tell you in darkness, speak in daylight, and what is whispered into your ears, preach from the rooftops. Be not afraid of evil slander, but be afraid of those that kill the body and take life. Eyes for eyes and teeth for teeth. Life for life, for there is no godness within them. Further, they will eat into thy flesh until thy joints are frozen, and ye are too crippled to respond. I came not to bring peace. I did not come to bring the world peace at that time, brothers. I did not come forth to bring peace, but rather to bring the sword of truth and knowledge of the power of the Spirit which dwells within man. I ask that ye provoke even thy mother, father, and thus and so, that eyes be opened, and thought be manifest in truth patterns instead of the continuation of sleep and inertia, walking steadily and deliberately unto thy doom. But it must be done in leadership, whereby truth is visual, and man wishes to follow, for the way is simply better. Ah, yes, thine enemies will likely be residing within thy very households. The path of truth is distant, and the wisdom of knowledge will reach it only slowly. I predict dark ages would follow, centuries and millennia would pass, before the truth of the Spirit could reach unto the people. 2,000 years is quite enough, Chelas, quite enough. Please. Well, it has all come to pass, so far exactly as predicted. I walk with you in constant attendance. Ye need not more. I have come that mine Father's kingdom be reclaimed, and mine ones be put in safety. I also am prepared to meet my adversary on any front he so chooses, and, of course, he will choose the place near Armageddon. So be it. As ye are prepared, so shall ye receive. Therefore, please let us move rapidly at preparation, for there will be some most irritating times forthcoming. Let us go, Dharma, and I suggest discretion with these words. You are writing historical data, and most of it will not be pleasing to the multitudes. Truth is rarely pleasing to the multitudes. Ye will be given to know when and who is ready for receiving. I plan, shortly, to bring a lot of relationships into integration regarding thy South America, Mexico, and Central Americas, into convergence with thine own North Americas. Don't concern, Dharma, thy ignorance is not my ignorance, Blessed One. I need not thy educational expertise. I prefer ye have none at all. So be it, and I touch thee gently, for ye are a blessed servant, and thy work pleases me greatly. I salute you ones as we begin to mobilize, for there can be no turning back. Ones can drop aside, there is no turning about. In unlimited love and total support, I am that I am. Sananda. Chapter 6. Recording 2. Iscarioth, Immanuel Sananda. Tuesday, August 8th, 1989, 7:45 a.m., Year 2, Day 357. Precious, I remind you that you are not to stop to ponder these things which I bring unto you. It is necessary that we pen them, and at the appropriate time the content can be discussed. It is the authentic record as preserved from scrolls which are in safekeeping in Pleiades. The entire instrument is in dissonance, and is the very purpose of the journal. So be it. Ours is not to rewrite, but to correctly document. Might we move on, please? Questions from the Baptist. At the time of the preparation and teachings of Immanuel to his disciples, John, the Baptist, was incarcerated in prison. However, John also had many disciples who were going about the lands. Word of Immanuel's teachings and followings were carried back to the ears of John. As it came to John's attention, he sent his disciples unto Immanuel to make inquiry of the young teacher. They inquired, Are you the one who is to come, the kingdom of wisdom? Are you the one who is to come, the king of wisdom, as was told by the prophets? Or should we wait for another? Immanuel answered and spoke to them. Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind see, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead rise, and to those who seek the truth of knowledge it is given. Blessed are those who were not offended by my teachings. When John's disciples had gone, Immanuel started to speak to the people about John. What did you go to see in the desert? Did you want to see a reed shaken by the wind? Or what did you really go out for, and to see what? Did you seek to find a person in soft and supple clothing? Behold, those who wear soft clothes are in the houses of kings, officials, the rich, hypocrites, scribes, and priests. Or did you go forth for you wish to see a prophet? Yes, I tell you, he is more than a prophet. John is the one of whom it is written, See, I send a messenger before you, who shall prepare your path before you. Verily I say to you, among all who were born by women, there is none arisen who is greater than John the Baptist. From the time of John the Baptist until now, the earth suffers from violence, and those who commit violence seize earth away. For all the prophets and the law have prophesied to the time of John, and if you wish to accept it, he is Elijah, who is come again, that the path would be prepared. He who has ears, hear. To whom shall I compare this generation? It does not matter to the children who sit at the market and call to their playmates, saying, We are striking up the music, and you did not want to dance. We make ourselves hoarse with wailing and speeches, and you did not want to mourn. John, who is Elijah, did not eat, nor did he drink, and now it is said about that he is possessed. Now I have come, I eat and drink, and they say, See what a glutton and wine-bibber he is? A friend to the publicans, customs officers, and to the infidels. And yet wisdom is justified through the works shown forth. Praised be the creation. Praised be the creation of heaven, and the universes and the earth, for revealing the knowledge and the power of the Spirit, which the false teaching has hidden from the expanding wise and those filled with knowledge, now to those who are honest seekers. Yes, it has been very kind of the creation, wherefrom came God and his celestial sons, whereby they have stopped the misuse of power among the human race. All things have been given over to men, and no one knows the secret of the creation, that is, no man, and thus not God or his followers. And all things have been given to me now by God, whose guardian angels taught me the laws, and the knowledge of nature, and the laws emanating from the creation. Come to me, all of you who are searching and thirsting for knowledge and truth, and I will receive you and restore you. Take upon you the yoke of learning of the new teachings, for it is the recognition, and you will find peace within it for your life. You will find that the development of spirit is gentle, and its burden most light. Marriage and cohabitation. Immanuel was constantly pressed with questions regarding the laws of marriage and everything related thereto. Most ones were most sorry they had asked. These writings will be discussed in depth at a future time, Dharma, for they are the most abused and confounding of all teachings. These are universal laws, and are the most frequently rewritten to be suitable to man's whims. Nonetheless, there is a most logical and rational reason for such rules, which range from parentless children birth to calamitous diseases and broken spirits thrust upon the other. Do not debate it here, as this is not the format for such. Remember, we are translating the scrolls. As has been given unto you prior to this, there is not to prevent the loving of another of opposite or same sexual affiliation. It is the behavior of physical lust and practice which is disdained. Love has no boundaries of soul caring and emotion. Physical activities come under the limits of acceptability for myriads of just reasonings. So be it. He spoke thusly. You have been given the commandment, you should not commit adultery. Irrespective thereof, people commit adultery and practice fornication, thus going against the laws of nature. But it is written, He who commits adultery and fornication shall be punished, for the fallible are unworthy of life and its laws, for they should be sterilized. If men or women not married cohabit with each other, they should be punished, for the fallible are unworthy of life and its laws, and they too should be sterilized. If two men consort with one another in intimate sexual relationships, they should be punished, for the fallible are unworthy of life and its laws. Therefore they should be sterilized, and further expelled and banned before the people. If, however, two women cohabit with each other, they should not be punished, for they do not go against life and its laws, since they are not inseminating, but bearing. When inseminator and inseminator are united, life is desecrated and killed. But if conception and conception are united, There is no desecration, no killing, nor creating. But activities of lustful pleasure are incorrect, for this is an exploitation of nurturing and loving. Verily, I say to you, there is no animal under the sky which, like man, would go against the laws of the creation and of nature. But are you not more than the animal? He who indulges in lustful fornication for the sake of pay or of pleasure to the physical senses should be therefore sterilized, that he or she not be allowed procreation, and further should be evicted and banned before the people. He who molests and cohabits with a child is unworthy of life itself and its laws, and should be punished so that he will lose of his life. Likewise, he who indulges incest and thusly unworthy, and should be treated likewise. He who cohabits with an animal is likewise unworthy, and should be treated likewise. Now, Dharma, comes the really hard one to swallow in concept, and is one of the rules that has been rewritten so many times to suit man that it has lost all conceptual meaning. It revolves around responsibility to the child created from the old or from the new relationship. It is always with the seeking of pleasure that all laws are broken, either through seeking of pleasure of self or greed. I do not make of the laws, and it is unimportant whether or not ye ones of earth like of them, or do not like of them. There is ample reasoning upon which these laws of the creation are based and balanced. You will note that many times the phrase, lose life, is included. Yes, it is that serious, Chela. It just has long since the writing of the law been ignored and hidden. It is the time of the coming again for the correction of these things which have caused thy civilization of man to drop into degradation. Through these very misusings you have brought yourselves unto destruction. It pleases me not either, but so be it. At the time of accounting, these things done in ignorance are most surely evaluated justly, and ones are not randomly thrown into the pits of fire and brimstone. You ones need not rush out and compound thy errors. You will use wisdom in all things. Divorce. He who marries a man or woman who was divorced is guilty and should be sterilized, for they are unworthy of life and its laws, and both should be expelled and banned before the people. He who begets a child and is not married to the woman is unworthy of life and its laws, and should be punished so that he will lose his life. And he who creates a child in this union and abandons that child shall have his name stricken from the book of life. Verily, verily, I say to you, these laws were given by the creation and nature, and they should be followed, or men bring death upon themselves and all mankind. Let it be noted herewith that there are limits beyond which a planet cannot support mankind in quantities through misuse of procreation. Earth can nourish and support 500 million people of all human races in balance and harmony with nature, as brought forth, without exploitation and reaping unbalance. But if these laws are not followed, there will be, in 2,000 years, 10 times 500 million people, and the earth will not be able to give sustenance and succor for survival. All balance will be lost, and destruction cannot be avoided. There will be famines and catastrophes and great world wars, and epidemics will control the earth, and human races will kill one another, and only a few will survive. Verily, I say to you, there will be crying and gnashing of teeth, when so much human blood will soak the sands of the earth, so that new forms of life will come from it, which will bring the final dreadful horror to mankind. All good things were given unto you, and you received the laws according to which you are to live. You should adhere to these and additional laws, so that you shall prosper on earth, and have peace in your families. Remove the power of the old law, that women shall be subject to man, since she is a person equal to man in spiritual respect, and has equal rights and obligations. There are many distortions in the laws, since they were given forth by God and the celestial sons, for man has built them to be suitable unto themselves. When a man marries a woman, he shall pay to the most trusted steward the handling of her possessions, as a price of security, lest she suffer from lack of her necessities. The price should be calculated in such a way that for each year of her life, 100 pieces of silver should be the basis, measured according to her knowledge, her ability, and her strength, provided her health is not lacking. The price is not to be considered as that of a purchase, for no person may be sold or bought, but as security for the woman lest she suffer lack. The bond of matrimony between man and woman should be permitted only if both are of mental competence and capable of leading a marriage in accordance with the law. You should enter a marriage as man and wife only if the price has been paid for the wife, that no dishonor be forthcoming from the man and that the wife be sufficiently cared for. If according to predetermined agreement no price is paid, the law applies. The man must supply the needs of the wife regarding all of her necessities. The inability of a wife to bear children, or a man's inability to sire children, is no reason for divorce, nor does she or he deserve other options or actions. The only reason for divorce is that of adultery, that is, the destruction or endangering of spirit, the body, or the life of the members of one's own family unit. If a person is divorced by his own actions of adultery, he should be sterilized, for he is unworthy of life and its laws, for he has responded to the selfish, lustful drives of pleasure-seeking, and has cast aside all responsible behavior. The basis for these laws. The act of marriage and procreation must have the highest degree of pure intent and preparation, for upon these bonds and restrictions will rest the preservation of mankind as a species upon the planet. If everything is done and adhered to, justice and peace will come to all mankind, and life in the human form can be preserved. If man continues his selfish and imprudent behavior, he will sound his own death tariff. There reaches a point beyond which a planet cannot support the unbalanced system perpetrated by mankind. And yet, so shall it come to pass that man will not listen and bring destruction upon his own species. It will come about in some 2 millennium that man will have reached the point of self-destruction, and so is it projected by the prophets, and so shall it come to pass in its time of fulfillment and in my time of fulfillment. Dharma, let's take a respite, please. This was a most important portion, for it is thy reason of desperate plight of this current time. Peace unto you, for thy heart and mind is pained and sorrowed. Truth is most hard to confront, beloved ones, most difficult. It comes now as explanation for 'tis too late to change of a bit of it. Salut.